One thing I've always been curious about is what is the difference between a cheap and a pro quality ND filter, and can I actually notice that difference? So I decided to compare 3 different filters at 3 different price points and see which one is the best value. For this test, we're going to be primarily focusing on sharpness. We can also look at color, but it's not as fine-tuned for that. We'll first start off with a basic control test with no filter whatsoever. This should give us the sharpest quality results since we have no optics distorting our image. Looking at the footage, it looks great. Sharp, crisp, very nice. Upon diving in and looking into further image quality, it seems to be really sharp, still really crisp. Now let's throw on the Neewer ND fader, which is the cheapest option. Now the Neewer build quality is subpar. It gets the job done. It is metal. The one thing I don't really like about this one is just how loose it is to turn. So it's also pretty noisy. But nonetheless, it does what it says. It darkens down your footage, so that way you can lower your shutter speed or your aperture to compensate. Throwing up the footage, it's really hard to see a difference. It's only when we put them side by side can we notice some differences off the bat. Looks like there's a little difference in color, maybe a little bit in sharpness. We'll have to zoom in to see if it's actually the case. And when we're zoomed in about 600%, we can see that the Neewer filter is not as sharp as without the filter. But of course, I had nothing to compare this to when I first got it. That's why I was pretty excited when I found this ND filter on Amazon by a company I've never heard of before, Lucid. And what intrigued me is this has brass construction, and most importantly, it has hard stops, which is something I definitely want in an ND filter. That way I don't go past the minimum or maximum and screw up the image. This has nice hard stops with this nice smooth graduation. Very nice on their part. The brass metal construction is nice, has a little bit of heft to it, and also the price point is at $45. But on Amazon, you can save 40% off of that, so under $30 for this ND filter. Very nice. Now let's see if it's the same story with the Lucid filter. When we stand out, it looks pretty good. It's really hard to tell the difference. We have to zoom in again. And in terms of sharpness, it's definitely an improvement over the Neewer. But it's still not as sharp as without a filter. That's to be expected. And the last filter for comparison is one by Tiffen, their variable ND filter. Well, Tiffen is a very reputable brand and they specialize in optics, so you know you're going to get a quality filter. You're just going to have to pay for that. Now, I never owned a Tiffen ND filter before up till now, thanks Caleb. I'm really interested in seeing how much better this filter is compared to the cheaper options, and if it's even worth it. When you buy the Tiffen filter, it comes in this nice pouch, which I really enjoy that I can actually have something to protect this filter. We have a nice smooth variable control, much like the Lucid. However, this does not have hard stops, unfortunately. It is a bit tricky when you're trying to mount on the filter because you really have nothing to grab onto. This whole front element spins. Here the image has a little bit extra clarity. It seems a bit more sharp than the other 2 filters. And comparing to with no filter, it's really hard to tell the difference. The Tiffen filter is probably ever so slightly softer, and that's just probably due to the fact that this is glass. That's a really good performance on Tiffen's part and why many people do go with this filter. It seems like it's retaining a lot of the sharpness of your lens, which is a good thing. And these filters really do reflect their price point. The Neewer is the cheapest and therefore you're getting a softer, less pristine image. The Lucid is a little bit more of an upgrade, a little bit more expensive, you're getting better build, it's easier to use, and you are getting an increase in image quality. And the Tiffen simply is the sharpest out of these filters. If you are a beginner filmmaker, you don't have a lot of money or resources, there's really no need to buy the Tiffen just yet. Start off with the Neewer, see if filmmaking is even something you want to try, and begin to learn how an ND filter works. When you eventually do upgrade to a more expensive filter, you can always keep the cheap one around when you are in a remote environment and you don't want to risk scratching or damaging your expensive glass. If you're more of an intermediate filmmaker and you want a little bit more than what the cheapest filter offers, the Lucid is a very nice filter. You're getting the nice hard stops, which I just find awesome because you're allowed to dial in your exposure just with more control. Now, of course, if you're a professional or just looking to level up your gear, go with the Tiffen. It does have the sharpest image quality, and therefore you do want to stick with something like this. So what have I learned comparing 3 different ND filters at 3 very different price points? Well, It's still true, a more expensive filter is going to deliver higher quality results. However, the differences aren't that drastic. In many cases, I wouldn't mind using the cheaper ND filter if I'm in a pinch. I want to thank Lucid for sending out this ND filter for review. I'm really impressed by the quality and the price point of this filter. Now, if this video has been beneficial towards you, let me know in the comments. I always like chatting with you guys down there. Thanks for watching.